Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the railway. And today I've got a really exciting unboxing, and as you can see by this, that unboxing is a train pack, and I just love to unbox train packs. It is my absolute favourite type of unboxing video. It's just like Christmas, isn't it? So hopefully you're going to enjoy this as well. Obviously the packaging on the outside doesn't give very much away. In fact, it's identical to my other train pack from Hornby, which was the white Pullman set. So I've cut out all the suspense and we'll get her open straight away. So let's take the top off carefully, and you can see straight away there's the set. Now they normally come with a little piece of like card which goes over this so that you can't see it, but I've left that out for this, for this review. There it is. So you can see it straight away, but obviously the glare isn't too great. So let's get this box off it and I'll talk to you a little bit about this. So let's give this a try. It might be best to start it on this side actually. There we go. Okay, so what have we got in here then? So obviously you've got all the train stuff, we'll come back to that in a sec. You've got the instruction manual with all the stuff, information, and you've also got sort of servicing instructions as well, where to put your oil, how to change motors and whatnot. So nothing we're really too interested about at the moment. You've also got a certificate. Let's go over here and look. I've already got that up on the wall because that's a strange thing that I do. But the certificate there, as you can see, is the Coronation Scot Certificate of Authentication. This one was number 111 of 1,500 produced. So it wasn't a big production run really, only 1,500, 1,500, so it's really not many at all. So anyway, let's look what we've got here then. So we've got the beautiful Coronation class, of course, the Pacific. This one's Princess Alexandra, which I didn't have before, which I'm really pleased about, in this exquisite sort of LMS blue livery. And then you've got the three gorgeous coaches. Of course you've got the two regular first class passenger coaches. Let's see here, that's 1069 and 1070, and then you've got the brake coach which is 5052, reading it upside down. Of course, lovely Coronation Scot coaches there. We've got a few other bits and bobs in the box. You've got this bogie, which is a spare bogie. Well, it isn't actually a spare bogie, it's a replacement bogie. I believe this bogie is to be used if you're on nothing smaller than third radius. So third radius minimum, you can put this one on, unless it's already been changed by the previous owner. It's possible. In fact, it does look like that. But if you're running on second radius, you need to use the bogie that came from the factory. And it says that on the instruction manual as well, which is how I know. So I'm going to leave that one on because there are a couple of little bits of second radius on the track. So yeah, we'll keep that. We've got the little detail pack, which includes a couple of vacuum pipes, as you can see in there. I think that's all it is, and some brake rods as well. So not a lot of detail there, not that you really need it, but I won't put it on anyway, I never do. Alright, so let's get some of this stuff unboxed. Now before I do that, I will say, and this is a little tip from Cliff, of Janice and Cliff by the way, so you can check his channel out at Janice and Cliff. Now this packaging was really tight when I got it. In fact, the loco was so tightly in the packaging, I was so scared that it was going to break. It was really horrible trying to get it out, even though there's holes in the back. So what I've actually done is I've taken a knife and just cut away at parts of the packaging, just to make these coaches and locos a little bit less snug, so that we can take them out easier without breaking them. And so that was Cliff's idea, and it's a very good idea because it's essential that you don't damage anything when you're getting it out of the packaging, and this polystyrene packaging of course is the worst of that. Right, let's start by getting some of these things out then. Let's start with the tender. Now I didn't actually cut away at the tender's packaging because I thought that was alright. So as you can see there, it came out quite nicely. And we'll look at all of this in some more detail pretty shortly. There's the tender, lovely six-wheeler, and now the loco then. That's the bit we're all interested in, I suppose. Still got to be careful when we get this out. I've used the holes at the back. As you can see, it is loose though, but it's still getting a purchase on it really, which is difficult. There we go, gorgeous loco. This is quite an old loco. Well, it's not. I think about 2004, something like that. So not extremely new, but certainly new enough. Look at that. Again, I'll show you her in some more detail very shortly. let's deal with the coaches now then. Now these should slide out quite nicely if the wheels don't catch. There we go. That's the first one. That's 1069 if I'm reading that right upside down. Lovely LMS first class coach. Again, more on the coaches in a little while. The next one, which is pretty much identical except for the number, of course. Come on, out you get. This one's not so easy. There we go. It's the wheels as well, they catch. Right, there we go. So yeah, that's the second coach. And of course, last but not least, the brake. Number 5025, well, 5052, sorry. Again, can't read upside down too well. Come on now, out you come. There we go, that's the best way to do it. So yeah, the slightly different brake coach. There we go, lovely. Right, let's put all this stuff to one side then. There it all is, out of the box. I will show you the loco first, up on the white background, and then I'll show you one of the two passenger coaches in detail, and then the brake coach, because it's slightly different. Alright, let's get on with it, cool. Okay, so there she is, the mighty Coronation class, number 6224, Princess Alexandra, against the white background there. And I'm going to give you sort of a condensed review today because there's a lot to get through. But incidentally, if you do enjoy the condensed review, and you'd like me to do that more often, or all the time, let me know, because I realise I do spend a lot of time analysing these locos and such. So first, a little bit of information about the class and this loco. There were 38 of them built to the design of William Stanier between 1937 and 1948, which is a very, very long production run, isn't it? And this particular example, number 6224, was the fifth to be built at Crewe. And you can see actually this badge on the side of the loco here. If we can get a close-up, I can actually read it. It says LMS, built 1937, Crewe. So it even says so on the loco, which is quite cool. And interestingly, these locomotives were the most powerful passenger steam locos ever to be built for Britain. And they were even more powerful than the diesels that replaced them, which is really, really funny, isn't it? But you can probably believe it, can't you? Just look at that. What an image of power. And yeah, let's take a good close look then. And just look at the amount of detail on there. This is not a particularly new model, you know, 2004, we're talking more than 10 years old, but just look at the detail. You've got plenty of rivets, you know, even for modern standards. There's rivets all over it, especially sort of on the bottom half. But you've also got a fair bit on the roof. You've got gorgeous separately fitted handrails. Look at those, go all the way down. And they really sort of fit the shape of the streamlining. And talking of the shape, just look at that. I suppose from the front is best, where all the stripes converge. And you've got the various separately fitted parts, you've got the little ladder and such. But then those stripes go all the way back along the loco straight to the tender, which is fantastic. And you've got handrails everywhere, even on the back of the cab. Now the cab is quite interesting because you see those handrails on the back, they're actually connected to the windows, and you can actually take them out and the windows come out with them, and they're actually held in by the windows, which is quite cool. But as you can see, we have got glazed windows. All of them are glazed, even the front-facing ones, which is really cool, which is, you know, exactly what you expect for a more premium model. But while we're still on the subject of the cab, there is no detail that is painted to speak of. But it's quite an enclosed cab, isn't it? Again, so you don't really see it, even if it was detailed. And it's a thing to point out, the way the loco fits onto the tender is really, really quite smart, isn't it? You've got the cab roof which sort of arches over the tender, and the tender just really fits the shape. It's just a really, really beautiful design, really, isn't it? Now let's look at some of the other separately fitted parts. You've got various safety valves sort of on the top, as well as a whistle there, which do look like they're brass or some sort of metal. And they sort of go in with the streamlining effect, don't they? So they're not protruding at all out the top, they're sort of sunken into the bodywork, which is absolutely fantastic. You know, to say how little difference that would have made to the actual air resistance and whatnot, it's quite, you know, it's quite insignificant, you'd expect. But just for that design, you know, these locos were seriously designed to look glamorous, weren't they? And of course they needed to compete with various other modes of transport at the time, buses and whatnot, what else. So you could probably see why people would want to have ridden on trains pulled by such an engine. And I think I would have certainly been one of those people back in the day. Right, let's look at some of the extra sort of bells and whistles, as it were then. You've got the sprung buffers on the front. Very nice, as you'd expect, and on the back. And the front and rear vacuum pipes have also already been fitted, so I'm not sure why we had some in the detail pack. Perhaps you could put them on the coaches, I don't know, I wouldn't have thought so, or perhaps they're just spares, I'm not sure. But it's quite nice to have spares anyway, so not too bad. Let's take a look at the tender as well then in more detail. Let's take a look at the coal to start with. I suppose that's the most notable feature. The coal isn't bad at all. It is a little bit unrealistic for my liking. It isn't as fine as some of them. But having said that, when a loco looks like this, you can't really complain about the coal. But I will say it is a little bit less detailed. Of course, the paintwork is absolutely exquisite though. Just look at that. Look at those stripes and the LMS, it's fantastic. And you've got such a livery on this tender. I mean, just look at the black paintwork around the wheels and sort of the axles. It just really has style, doesn't it? And if we go around the back, you can see the sort of shielded ladder there, and you've got a few more badges which say LMS on them, number 9707 that one looks like, and then you've got 4000 underneath there, and I can't really see what it says around it. But just look at that buffer beam. I realise it's probably in the shadows, but there's just rivets all over it, there really are. I don't think I've ever seen such a buffer beam. It's a lot more detailed than the rest of the loco actually. And yeah, the tender is really quite nice. There's lots of rivets, and like I already mentioned, there's handrails and also steps on the bottom, which are quite cool. Of course, there's no steps on the actual loco, so the fireman and driver would have presumably had to have climbed up onto the tender and then crossed to the loco in real life, which is quite interesting, isn't it? It's not often done that way, which is quite cool. So yeah, let's just see then. Let's sum this up. A really, really detailed loco, fantastic detail, I must say. Really, really elegant. Let's take a look at the linkage too. Yes, we mustn't forget that. Look at all that. It's just elegant, isn't it? Of course, we can't really do it justice until she gets running, but you can sort of tell what it's going to look like. And oh yeah, let's take a quick look at the running number up close too before we move on. You can see 6224 and 7p underneath there. Again, another indication of the power of this loco. You don't see that many 7ps, do you? I suppose you've got the Princess class, which was 7p I think, and I think Britannia, was Britannia 7p? I don't know. But yeah, it's certainly up there, isn't it, in terms of power. Alright, so let's take her away then, and let's start looking at some of the coaches that we get included in this marvellous train pack. Alright, don't go anywhere, I'll bring the first one up now. Okay, so here's one of the three coaches then. I'm going to look at two of them, like I said. I'm going to look at this one and the brake. You're currently looking at the corridor side. I will turn around in a little while so you can see the other side, but they are very similar. And you can really see that that sort of theme of elegance and grandeur is really sort of carried through to the coaches as well. Of course, you've got the lovely blue livery, which of course carries on with the stripes, which go all the way along the body, which is really, really cool because, you know, from the very, very front of the loco right to the back of the train, you've got these stripes, which is really, really iconic, isn't it, really, for the Coronation Scot. You've got quite a bit of printed detail on there. Of course, you've got the Coronation Scot name, which appears on both sides of each coach, at the top there, as well as the first class symbols on each door, the LMS logo, and this very, very elegant crest underneath the centre window, which I can't really make out with my naked eyes, but it certainly looks to be very finely printed. The coaches are fairly well detailed. There's quite a lot of rivets on the bogies, not particularly on the coaches itself. There's certainly quite a bit of moulded decoration on the roof. At each end we've got the corridor connectors, for want of a better word, but the whole thing looks pretty basic. Not that it needs to be any more intricate, at least for me, but you know, they're sort of they're not terrible coaches, but they're not highly detailed, and I think the ends really do show that. Having said that, I think the livery sort of disguises the fact that they're not the most detailed coaches in the world. And of course you haven't got sprung buffers or anything like that, but that doesn't mean that they're not elegant coaches, and they do have metal wheels as well, which shows that they're not simply cheap railroad coaches, which is cool. Alright, let's turn this girl round then. And it's very much the same story actually, virtually identical, except now you can see the interiors. The interiors aren't bad, there's not a lot in there particularly, but there are handrests, or armrests if you want to call them that, on the seats, and sort of textured seats as well, which are quite nice. And there's sort of this frosted glass as well on the, well, not really frosted, but on each end it's sort of, this window here is slightly more frosted than the rest. And I think that's about it. You have got small little painted bits of detail on there, like the door handles and certain handrails. But you know, it's pretty simplistic, but very, very elegant, I must say. Alright, let's take a look at the brake coach then, just so that you can see what it's like. I won't spend very long on it, and then we'll get it all onto the railway and do a little bit of performance. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so here's the brake van. It's very much the same deal as the main coach, except from the back, of course. You've got the sort of striped windows where the guard would go, and a couple more doors at the back. Just the same as any regular brake coach, really. You still got the stripes, the same interior as far as I can tell. And yeah, it's just quite a nice coach. Let's have a good close look at some of those stripes. And I like the way that the stripes go in a different direction on one of the windows as well. I think that's the only time when the stripes don't carry on. But yeah, I think that's quite a nice look, isn't it? It's very elegant, and you'll probably see the stripe effect a lot better once we get it all on the railway. But yeah, that's it. That's the brake coach, just to show you really. Nothing much to say about it. Right, let's get it all up onto the railway then, and we'll get it running around for you. Right, let's give it a try. So there she is on the line then, looking absolutely gorgeous, and I've not coupled her up to the coaches as usual because I like to do that on camera. On the other line, I'll introduce the other loco. This one's the Triangle version from way back when, but this one's King George VI, number 6244, and that's pulling a mix of LMS coaches as well. I haven't got some red Coronation coaches, I'm afraid. Hopefully they'll look fine all the same. But for now, I'm going to start to do the coupling, but before I do that, I'm going to start the loco moving forwards and backwards just gently, just so that you can see how she runs at slow speed, and then I'll go all the way back and couple to the coaches. But first then, here's a little bit of slow running, and she's right on a point there, so you should be able to see that she won't stall on it or whatever. There we go, and forwards a little bit. Very, very nice. Very smooth. And bring her back again before she goes too far out. Right, I'll move the camera then and we'll get a coupling shot then. And there it is all together. I realise it isn't all in focus, but if we pull it down, you can see down to the coaches now, on that stripe that goes right the way down, well, more than one stripe obviously, that goes right the way down this train, and it's such a striking image, isn't it? And hopefully you'll see more of that when she goes around, and I think that's what we'll do. I think we'll get her to go around on her own for a little bit, and then we'll get the red version to join in at some point. Okay, so I'll put the camera down then, and let's get her going. Okay, a little bit of power then, and let's see how she gets on. Oh, that wasn't particularly smooth, I apologise. Okay. And there it goes. Let's go and watch it go round. It's going nice and slowly at the moment. And what a nice train it is. I've always loved train packs because not only do you get a lovely loco, you also get some suitable coaches. So it's a perfect way to build up your collection. And of course, 3 coaches isn't ideal for a train like this, but it's certainly not bad, is it? And it's not a bad start. Alright, so that is a nice gentle speed. I'm going to speed her up now, and we'll get the other loco going as well. So there's Alexandra. That's a bit better speed. Let's start the King George loco off then, and see how she performs. Here she goes. She's a noisy girl, but she's a good performer. Right, let's watch them both go. Gorgeous, isn't it? Absolutely lovely. Brilliant. So I can only say this set is an absolutely gorgeous one. Hornby did a fantastic job with it. I really can't find anything to complain about. Maybe the coaches are a little bit on the light side, but we don't derail, so I can't really make that a complaint. But yeah, the loco runs so smoothly, and the coaches look so elegant, and really, what more do you want? So yeah, really pleased with it. Let's watch these two go a little bit longer before I end it. Right then everybody, so if you like the video, please be sure to hit the like button, because it's great to have feedback like that. And if you'd like to see some more, please feel free to subscribe, and that's really cool, because you'll be first to know when videos come out. But they do come out on Wednesday nights and Saturday nights, quite consistently at the moment. So if you don't want to miss anything, do subscribe. If you'd like to see more, please visit the Facebook page and Twitter page at facebook.com/samstrains and twitter.com/samstrains. I'm always posting various pictures of progress and whatnot on the layout, various locos that I've bought. So if you like all that sort of stuff and want to get involved, please do that. But for now everybody, thank you all very much for watching. It's very much appreciated, as always. And I'll see you all very soon. Cheers everybody.